Radio, la voz migrante de Nueva York. Fundada en 2016 e inspirada por el movimiento zapatista, Rebeldía Radio es una iniciativa comunitaria y colectiva que se dedica a la difusión de noticias veraces que impactan a la comunidad migrante en Estados Unidos, así como a hermanos y hermanas activistas y luchadores sociales en América Latina y el mundo. Aunque no somos periodistas profesionales, llevamos a cabo nuestro trabajo con dedicación y corazón. Somos trabajadores de la construcción, empleados en almacenes, personal de limpieza, niñeras, repartidores de comida. En nuestro tiempo libre, nos dedicamos a capturar noticias relevantes para nuestra comunidad, ya que creemos firmemente que otro mundo es posible, aunque nuestras coberturas se centran principalmente en la lucha social. También abordamos cuestiones culturales, porque a pesar de la distancia, no perdemos nuestra identidad. Siempre estamos abiertos a incluir otras secciones de noticias en el futuro. Rechazamos ser parte de los medios de difusión masivos, cómplices de un sistema que distorsiona la realidad. Nos diferenciamos de ellos, recogiendo las noticias desde la verdad cotidiana. Estamos aquí para romper con las narrativas opresivas. Nuestra labor no solo es informativa, sino también de organización, difusión, apoyo, acompañamiento, denuncia, lucha y colaboración con nuestra comunidad. Te invitamos a apoyar y ser parte de este gran proyecto llamado Rebeldía Radio. Rebeldía Radio. Envíanos material sobre lo que sucede en tu comunidad o en cualquier parte del mundo. Nuestra consigna clara es: aquí o allá, no le vamos a bajar. En Rebeldía Radio buscamos hacer periodismo desde las bases, trabajando con la voluntad de construir un mundo mejor. Somos autogestivos y expresamos la realidad de manera sencilla, conectando el corazón con la palabra. Nosotros estamos en todos lados, como nos enseñaron nuestros hermanos zapatistas. Para luchar no se necesita un pasamontañas, ni vivir en la selva. Se puede organizar y luchar desde cualquier trinchera, porque la comunidad es primero. Búscanos en redes sociales, Facebook, X, YouTube, TikTok e Instagram. Somos Rebeldía Radio, la voz migrante de Nueva York.
Hola, ¿qué tal? Muy buenas noches, amigos de Rebeldía Radio, la voz migrante de Nueva York y también de Radio Cosecha. Mi nombre es Tadí. Hoy estamos de vuelta, vamos a tener una conversación interesante y creo que también importante. Momentos que está viviendo la comunidad en este momento muy difícil. Hoy vamos a platicar con Julie Moreno. Va a ser básicamente una entrevista en inglés, pero pues por ahí cuando nos atoremos, ahí está Carlos también que nos va a ayudar. Y quiero llamar al escenario a Carlos, mi compañero Carlos de Radio Cosecha. Carlos, buenas noches, ¿cómo estás? ¿Tienes el mute?
Perdón. Hola, buenas noches a toda la comunidad inmigrante. ¿Cómo están? Buenas noches.
Gracias. Y ahora quiero también saludar a nuestra invitada. Ella es Julie Moreno de Familias Americanas Unidas. Es una organización de ella. Ahorita nos va a contar. Julie, welcome.
Gracias, mucho gusto. Y buenas noches.
Thank you very much for being here today. And I want to start with you, like if you want to share with us who's Julie Moreno and a little bit about American United Families.
Yeah, American Families United. So I live in Newark, New Jersey. I've been married almost 9 years. My husband is undocumented. He's from Mexico. He's been in the United States well over 20 years. No interaction with ICE, CBP, no criminal history or activity of any kind. When we got married in 2017, and even before, Neftali, my husband, started to request an ITIN, as our relationship was growing and we were planning our future together. He started to do things to ground himself here, to regulate his status if possible. And we knew that there would be a difficult, and it's challenging, and there may not be a pathway forward, but he did everything that was required to do that. So he started by requesting the ITIN. After we were married, we filed for, the I-130, the I-601A. And during that time, I had a lot of questions that our lawyer was not really giving me a very clear answer on, and it didn't feel right. There was a very big backlog during COVID, so we were waiting over 3 years for the I-601A. And during that time, I started to investigate some of the questions that I had, because anybody who's gone through this process knows the final part and the final decision is outside the country in the home, the national's home country for the consular appointment and the green card interview. So you really need to make sure that everything you're doing is you got all your paperwork in order. You don't have any issues, because if you get denied, then you get locked out. And even if you have everything together, a lot of members of American Families United got denied because of something frivolous like a tattoo, or I've heard of some people, because of the health interview, made them wait a year before they could try to do the interview again at the consulate. So the I-601A gets you an appointment, and then you try your luck at the appointment. Immigration law is very complicated. Everybody's story is different. Everybody's history is different. And so the outcome and the requirements and what you are legally able to do or what you are barred from all depends on your immigration history. And it's very complicated. So there's almost like there's no two stories alike. There are some, but everybody you speak to, a minor difference, the date they came in, this interaction, that issue can change the outcome. So it's very difficult to explain to people that this problem exists, that United States citizens with undocumented spouses have a very difficult time having their spouses adjust status. So as we were waiting and waiting and waiting, we realized that if my husband had gone to the interview, he probably would have been barred for 10 years. So we didn't go. We didn't schedule that appointment. It would have actually complicated our situation worse by applying for that appointment, because we technically would not have been qualified to do so. And issues like that, trying to find the information, doing the best you can with the information provided to you, people find themselves in a trap where they did what the lawyer told them, or they did what they believed to be the right thing to do, and then got into filed something wrong, checked a box off wrong. And some of those people can never apply to change status ever, because the penalties are so severe. And immigration law is only second in complicated law to tax law, which is ridiculously complicated. American Families United represents U.S. citizens with undocumented spouses who cannot adjust status because of punitive immigration laws, mostly from the IRA laws in 1996, which created categorical bars, saying if you have entered without inspection, you could be subject to a 3-year bar, a 10-year bar if there's false representation. Some of those bars actually become permanent. There's no amount of time that will pass that you would then be able to adjust status. So this problem is a pretty big issue. There's actually like 1.4 to 1.5 million families like ours. 300,000 of those live outside the U.S. because they tried to go through the process and found themselves denied, or there was a deportation and now the family lives apart, or the whole family has left the United States. So the first thing we do at American Families United is explain to people that this issue exists, because a lot of people believe you marry a U.S. citizen and you automatically become a citizen yourself. And that's not the truth. And that's caused a lot of problems for people who believed that was true and then tried their best to go through legal channels and found themselves in trouble. So we want to make sure people are aware of the law so that they don't get themselves caught in that trap. But my husband actually wound up self-deporting because by choice, because we had gone through so many applications. We had surrendered so much personal information going through the process, biometrics, and we know now that these government agencies are sharing data with ICE and CBP. They have our home address, they have our bank accounts, they have his biometrics, so it's like you're sitting ducks, you're just waiting for them to come. So we did not feel that we had the emotional energy to wait 3.5 to 4 years or longer to see what was going to happen and live under that amount of stress. And so we chose for him to leave because I wanted him to be able to be free. 3.5 years is a lot of time to give up, you know? And it's a lot of time to be constricted and on house arrest. All the things that are taken from you, your peace of mind, your ability to enjoy life or do anything at all. Every time you leave the house, it's like a traumatic, situation. So he left. We are grateful that he has family, and I have family in Mexico as well. So he had somewhere to go. He had people to be with that were very, very happy to see him, who haven't seen him in 2 decades. And he's working. He's working in Baja California. So in all of this, I find, some peace of mind when I see him and he's on the beach working. So there's some beautiful things that have come out of this.
Thank you, Yuli, for share a little bit about your story and your husband case. And entendemos que todos los casos ella acaba de explicar son diferentes. Algunos hacen todo el proceso y cuando llegan a la entrevista, pues les niegan la posibilidad de volver y de regular el estatus. Entonces, en el caso de ella y de su esposo, decidieron mejor que él regresara a México en este caso. Carlos, ¿tienes algún comentario?
No, solamente que vemos el incremento de familias que le llamamos mixtas, ¿verdad? El número de familias, como en el caso de Julie, de personas ciudadanas norteamericanas casadas con personas no ciudadanas, ha incrementado en los últimos años. Entonces, esto no solamente afecta a la comunidad, por decirlo, indocumentada, sino también a ciudadanos norteamericanos, como en el caso de Julie. Y es muy importante notar eso para poder también abrir ese espacio, ¿no? Crear ese espacio para estas personas. Como en el caso de Julie, su esposo se autodeportó debido a la presión y todo lo demás, y también porque el sistema de migración está completamente roto, obsoleto, y no es que se rompió ayer, sino que por diseño nunca fue hecho para las personas de color, ¿no? Entonces, entonces es un comentario que tengo, y también seguiré escuchando lo que nos cuenta Julie, ¿no? Acerca de su situación y también cómo American Families United pueden ayudar a las personas que están en la misma situación de tener una pareja norteamericana y otra pareja que todavía no tiene documentación.
Sí, soy de acuerdo de esa situación. Este problema está de diseño, de design, porque, con más tiempo y más conversaciones con más gente está y leyendo cómo empezó este problema, pero no realmente este problema empezó en 1996, cuando empezó the bill IRA, porque esta situación con personas que no pueden cambiar su estatus, no tienen una manera a cómo aplicar de la visa, eso fueron by design, y empezó hace el principio de este país.
Claro, podemos ver también que, como Julie menciona, una de las primeras leyes que comenzó a setear lo que es las leyes de inmigración fue el ban, ¿no? La prohibición a la comunidad china, que no les permitía venir a los Estados Unidos, ¿no? Así comenzó básicamente el sistema de inmigración, las leyes del sistema de inmigración. Entonces vemos que tiene una raíz muy xenofóbica, muy racista, y eso ha continuado hasta el día de hoy. Y como dice la compañera Julie, en 1994-96, cuando se creó el IRA, lo que hizo es agravar aún más, ¿no? No solucionó nada, al contrario, lo agravó más. Y cada administración que va viniendo dice que van reformando, pero al contrario, en vez de reformar o mejorar, lo están haciendo peor. Llegamos hoy en el año 2025 y lo que vemos ni siquiera es un intento de reformar, sino un intento de desaparecer, desplazar una vez más a toda una comunidad migrante que tuvo que salir de sus países porque ya fueron desplazados de sus países por la política de las pólizas, ¿cómo se dice? De pólizas extranjeras, ¿no? Que vienen de Estados Unidos a nuestros países, ¿no? Entonces vemos que somos desplazados 1, 2, 3, 4 veces. En el caso de Julie, su esposo, me imagino que tuvo que salir de México por razones bien importantes, llegó aquí y después tuvo que otra vez salir del lugar donde vivió y se casó a otro lugar. Entonces, desplazado más de 2 veces, ¿me entiende? Entonces, Estados Unidos y el sistema de inmigración definitivamente no es un sistema que realmente está respondiendo a las necesidades del siglo XXI, especialmente al año 2025, ¿no? Entrando ya al 2026.
Thank you. I'm going to jump back between English and Spanish because some things I want to say, if I don't have the words, I don't want to say the wrong, like have it come out wrong. But, I think being aware, watching what's happening, listening to what's happening is so important because we need to really share that reality that this is by design and it has a lot to do with exploited labor. Because when my husband came in the early 2000s, there was a great need for labor and there were no visas available. So if people are coming here undocumented and the government is aware enough that they're going to issue ITINs to people, but not allow them to regulate their status, then that's something that to me indicates an awareness and an exploitation of these people as workers. And just yesterday, I read an article, Migrant Insider put out an article about Tyson Foods, who is now shutting down some plants because of, multiple issues with the cost of beef and so on. But they are now facing a lawsuit from their shareholders because they don't want to release how much of the labor that they have, that their company runs on, is from immigrant labor. They don't want to share that. They don't want people to know that. And the fact is that our country runs on this immigrant labor. And they're not really very eager to let people know because this picture that has been painted, it's a one-way road. They're claiming that people are taking and not contributing, and the reality is the opposite. And these are people that we love, that are in our families, and I think that disrespect has gone on long enough that it just makes me really fueled to speak about this a lot to anybody who will listen, and then tell them to hopefully tell more people about it.
Thank you, Julie. Una cosa que yo quiero retomar de la primera, cuando ella inicia, hay algo muy importante que ella dice, que a veces que el casarse con alguien que es ciudadano no es como tan fácil obtener los documentos o regularizarse. Entonces, a veces hay que tener también cuidado y hay que asesorarse bien. Muchos abogados también no están haciendo buen trabajo y se están llevando el dinero de las familias. Tenemos un caso muy reciente con nosotros que en este momento no puedo decirlo, pero estos malos procesos que no ayudan a la gente, que solo están tomando el dinero, también es importante buscar información adecuada. En este caso, en la organización donde está, que tiene Julie, sería importante si nos puedes compartir un poquito más cómo la gente puede llegar con ustedes y cuáles son los recursos que tienen para la comunidad.
Yeah, what we do is we have a bill called the American Families United Act that is now in the House of Representatives in the Judiciary Committee. This bill would create a waiver for spouses of U.S. citizens to be able to plead their case in front of a judge. At the moment, our spouses should be able to apply for a green card or permanent residency through marriage. There's a marriage-based visa. But because of laws in 1996, as we briefly spoke about, there's been these barriers placed in front of our families, which they cannot traverse. They cannot go around. They can't do anything with unless they leave the country for a certain amount of years, or some families unfortunately have a bar that will not allow them to change their status whatsoever. And this bill that we're working on would give our families the ability to show in front of a judge all the contributions and the strong family ties that our spouses have, that they are contributors, and that this causes a lot of harm to families to split them up. It's not something that is just it's very important to point out how much taking one person who is a provider, who is a adult to younger children. We don't have children, but I have a nephew who really relies on my husband. And that was a very difficult decision when we decided for him to self-deport, about my nephew. Many people have children of their own, and what are they going to do, living apart or leaving the country altogether? There are so many people involved in mixed status families. That includes U.S. citizens. That includes the U.S. citizens' extended family. We have family members that we help out with because they are elderly and they need a hand. You're not just punishing one person. You're crippling an entire family. We have the story of one of our families where a couple who loved each other very much, happy marriage, 5 children. The husband got denied at his consular appointment. So he was doing everything to regulate his status to be with his family. They denied him. And now we have a single mother of 5. What does that do for anybody? How is that benefiting anybody? She's struggling. The husband is now in Canada. He's like a very skilled laborer in welding, which is a skill of a craft that we need here. We have our infrastructure bill that, really needed workers like this. So it is so counterproductive that this is happening. Nobody benefits. The United States doesn't benefit. The communities doesn't benefit. And obviously the family is everybody is affected immensely by something like this. The children can't be with their parent. It's like tragic and just absolutely unnecessary. So the bill that we are working on, it's called the American Families United Act, would allow families like ours to plead our case in front of a judge, but it would also help families like the one I just described where they've already been separated. It would give them a chance to still be seen in front of a judge to reunite. So that's one of the things, I think, at the core of everything we do is about families, keeping them from being separated, or if they were separated, to try to bring them back together.
Yeah, that's right. I want to say hi hola a Oscar hasta Ciudad de México. Pronto vamos a platicar un poco el caso de compañero Oscar. Carlos.
Julie, haciendo este trabajo con la comunidad y teniendo tantos casos, siempre tenemos una oposición, ¿verdad? Siempre está la oposición. There's always that opposition. Organizing with community members who have mixed status families. There's always this saying that goes, well, you've been here for 20 years. How come you didn't get yourself, some papers? And, oh, you're married? Hey, you should have done it before. Why do you wait so long? For people that may not know, and of course, it will take more than 30 minutes to explain the immigration laws, but just simply for people that probably don't know or like think they know, what would you tell those people that think they're so easy to become a U.S. citizen? ¿Qué le dirías a las personas que piensan que es tan fácil convertirse o regularizarse a pesar de que tiene 5, 10, 15, 20 años?
Thank you so much, Carlos. That is a question we get asked all the time. We are trying to share our stories a lot in the public, in the media, so that people can be familiar with what is happening and understand that this problem exists, because they don't believe that it's real. They think that what happens is somebody just didn't do it, that people got lazy, or they didn't bother to do it, or they didn't want to spend the money. And the reality is people like my husband had no path forward. The law is the law. No amount of money, no lawyer good enough, like the best lawyer, is not going to fix this. And no amount of time of us being married is going to fix it. The law says from the IRA laws that because my husband came in 2 times, he was never interacted with ICE or CBP. So he was never deported. It wasn't a situation where he was deported. But if we were to file paperwork to go to a consular appointment, then we would have to list every entrance on the paperwork. And if we were to leave one out, then that would be misrepresentation. So you're not able to, there's nothing you can do, this is what it is. He has to be outside the country for 10 years before he can reapply. That's just the way the law is. And we have spent a lot of money on lawyers. We have filed all the papers that we could file, and those were not actually papers we should have been filing because we didn't qualify for it. We went to a lawyer, and the lawyer told us, we explained everything exactly as it happened. My husband came in for 3 years when he was very young to support his family because his father died. He worked for a year, got homesick because nobody else was here that he knew. That's a difficult life to live. I mean, anybody who goes off to college knows what homesickness is. Imagine going there, but now you are responsible for working in a place where you don't know anybody, you don't speak the language, you don't know the culture, and then you have to make enough money for yourself to keep doing that, and then to send money home because your family is relying on you as the breadwinner. That is a lot of pressure. I don't think there's enough of the stories of people who come here and how much they sacrifice for the people that they love to survive. These are people who are trying to survive. We don't even have problems that equate to that in this country. We don't have that level of poverty here for there even to be a comparison. So I think that really is something that is a point that needs to be said too, is that we need to put ourselves in the shoes of people who are doing what they need to do to survive, and they're not hurting anybody. So I also don't like these comments about breaking the law because, a law is not a measure of right and wrong or good and bad. But back to your point, it's not that simple. And that's, I forgot where I left off in our first question, but it is not simple. When people go through the process to try to regulate their status, we often find ourselves digging a deeper hole like my husband and I did, because we filed paperwork, we went to a lawyer, and we told him the whole story, and he said, not a problem about the double entries. And it never felt right. That was what I referred to earlier. Like, that just didn't seem right. And because the application was backlogged for 3.5 years, I started to take time to investigate what that meant. Not a problem, because I didn't believe it. And it turned out it was a problem, and it was not okay. And we never should have filed that paperwork. But I found that out through American Families United, through people who had gone through the process and ran into the same exact problem and got denied at their appointment. And so I learned, because of other people's generosity in sharing their story, that I found out that is a lot like what our story is. And, I need to investigate with more lawyers or get a second opinion or find out more about this, because it sounds like we will have the same problem as these other people did if we continue through that path. And that's exactly what our situation was. So American Families United, one, informs the public of the problem, because a lot of people don't understand the problem exists. And it has been baked into common knowledge that this is just easy, and it's not. That's a misrepresentation of the truth. So we number one, we're trying to inform people about this, and we need people's support. Affected people and non-affected people. We need voters who need to understand that this is a problem, so that they can now help support a bill so that families are not broken up and torn apart. So American Families United does a lot of that. We don't offer legal services, but we do provide rapid response connection. Like we have lists and databases of people who do the services. So we will give people a place to share in their community. And, we share information. And then we give people a chance or an opportunity to advocate for themselves and their families. If some people feel unsafe doing that, and rightfully so, it's a very dangerous time to be public with your situation. And I live in New Jersey, so I'm lucky that I have elected officials that are supportive of families like mine. In other parts of the country, not so much. So, we do try to support people with community in places where they are really having a difficult time and do not have the ability for their spouse to leave and go back because there's no family back there, or it was a dangerous place, or there's no way to make a living. Not everybody has the luxury of going back. And so, we chose to do that because we have support system there, but that's not the case for everybody. So it's a very difficult situation when people are locked in here right now, trying to navigate the brutality we're seeing.
Gracias, Julie. Bueno, ella está explicando un poquito, pues a veces cuando las personas regresan, pues no están seguras, regresan a lugares donde la violencia, pues no son lugares seguros. Y también estar aquí es como difícil decidir, la decisión no está en ellos, ¿no? Sino depende de todo este sistema roto. Carlitos, ¿quieres decir algo? Ya casi estamos terminando.
Quizás agradecer a Julie y también al equipo de American Family United, ¿no? Que están haciendo ese trabajo. Como dice Julie, quizás no le van a ayudar con algo tan legal, pero sí le pueden orientar, y también el crear comunidad, ¿no? Crear comunidad con personas que tienen la misma situación ayuda mucho, aunque no lo crean. Ya Julie ha pasado por eso, entonces ella sabe más o menos, a dónde ir, a quién acudir, qué hacer, qué no hacer, ¿verdad? Julie, you've already been through this, so I know that you can help community members that are just starting to experience this separations from their spouses, and yeah, so please, si alguien necesita apoyo y usted es una persona que tiene una esposa o pareja ciudadana o es al revés, por favor comuníquense con American Families United. Y también vemos que el sistema, ¿no? Como hablamos con Julie, este sistema cada día más se vuelve más cruel y quiere desaparecer todo. Básicamente quiere sacar a la mayoría de inmigrantes del país, ¿no? Ahorita la Corte Suprema aceptó ver el caso de el derecho de nacimiento, de ciudadanía por nacimiento, ¿no? El birthright citizenship. Entonces, vamos a ver qué dice la Corte Suprema. La Corte Suprema hemos visto que muchas veces apoya lo que Trump quiere, y que no nos sorprenda quizás que vayan terminando a quitar el derecho de los niños que nacen en Estados Unidos de padres que no tengan documentación por ahora, ¿verdad? Entonces, a esto está difícil la cosa, pero como dice Julie, tenemos que seguir luchando, tenemos que seguir organizándonos, ¿no?
One of my friends, a good friend of mine from American Families United, Jenny, put in the chat, she was featured on This American Life. Her husband also self-deported recently, and they have 2 children that will be apart from their father for several years. The story is so painful to hear because you see people who love each other so much and separate because they do love each other so much and they want to keep the vulnerable members safe as possible. And it makes me very angry that this is stolen time from us, and all the people involved that this causes pain to. But we do a call every Monday night for people who are affected. If you want to join, we talk about the bill that we're working on. We talk about, different things that are happening in the news that people are nervous about. It's a place for you, the people who are, a member of this community, to feel safe and to feel that, you know, you don't need to try to convince people of the problem. We all are there, and so we can welcome you with open arms. And yeah, we're just trying to tell more people that we exist, because people need this right now. People really need this. They don't know who to turn to, who to talk to when you're stuck in a situation where there's no path forward. Then what do? You know, you do what's best for your family, but sometimes, you know, you need to connect with people to kind of just help prop you up a little bit, because this is emotionally, it's very taxing emotionally, and then leading to physical, you know, exhaustion as well, and all that comes with that.
So, bueno, por ejemplo, en el caso de Julie, que no tiene hijos, es difícil. Imagínense las personas que tienen a sus hijos y tienen que sufrir esta separación. Qué bueno que existan estas redes de apoyo, como la organización para la que trabaja o en la que está Julie. Así que por ahí ya pusieron los links. Si alguien quiere compartir su historia, si alguien quiere conocer más de la organización, en los comentarios están los links donde pueden dirigirse y saber un poquito más. Agradecemos mucho a Jenny Rivera, que está compartiendo los links. Si alguien quiere saber más de ello.
Tenemos una página también en español y en las páginas que están aquí en la chat sobre events es el llamadas de lunes a las 8 del hora de Nueva York. Nosotros somos una organización nacional, entonces estamos en todos lados y en todos los países, muchos países, porque mucha gente están, you know, separado ahora y ellos juntan también en la hora que va a seguir esta conversación. So, si estás en nuestra comunidad, pueden entrar en el link y ¿cómo se llama? Llenar para
poder entrar a la reunión.
A la event el lunes. El llamada cada lunes a 8.
Ok.
Eastern Time.
Eastern Time, ok. Pues no me queda más que agradecer por habernos dado la oportunidad de conversar esta noche. Quisiera hacer más preguntas, pero a veces es difícil, sobre todo cuando están pasando en estos momentos. Pero sí, no quiero irme sin preguntarle a Julie. Do you think you're going back? I mean, you're going to Mexico, like a move to Mexico, or you're going to still here fighting for the other families?
It's very difficult right now because I feel split. I feel an obligation to be here to do this because as a U.S. citizen, I am really angry at this country right now. I'm furious at this country. And, you know, this has always been difficult for families like ours to be public. And even more so now, you know, fear is being used to keep people quiet. And then they're even more exploited. And so I do not want to walk away from this situation. We need people to understand that this is happening. I love my husband so much and I miss him. He's awesome. And I'm going to visit him. But I also have my nephew here who's in high school. And I don't want to leave him during this time. So for the next few years, I'm just going to be traveling back and forth to visit when I can. I know he's in good hands with his family. But it's so difficult because there's no option where people don't lose. There's no option in family separation, you know, where pain doesn't happen or loss doesn't happen. People's families are split apart. And so, you know, we just are doing the best we can, I guess. to minimize the damage to all of the family members involved.
Ok, pues muchas gracias. Julie pues ya explicó que se va a quedar aquí y va a estar yendo y viniendo para visitar a su esposo. Y pues a veces hay que estar repartiendo el tiempo en un lado y en otro, que ella sí puede pues ir y venir. No todos tienen esa posibilidad, sobre todo los que se quedan fuera del país. Y pues muchas gracias, Julie, por tu tiempo. Esperamos próximamente volver a conversar. Creo que es un tema, es importante, aunque también muchos casos o muchas personas pues no quieren hacer público, ¿no? Este miedo que hay en nuestras comunidades, pero creo que es importante hablarlo para también ayudarse mutuamente y también sanar de alguna manera estas, pues estas rupturas, esta descomposición del tejido comunitario. Carlos.
Otra vez, muchas gracias, Julie, y también saludos al compa Neftalí, si puede ver este video o cuando lo vea, y no, espero que lo estén viendo bien. Y para mí, en lo personal, la separación de familias es uno de los crímenes más grandes que puede haber, una de las cosas más feas. El crecer sin tus padres, sea madre o padre, forma al niño, ¿no? Y lo trastorna, y cuando uno es adulto, uno todavía está tratando de sanar la separación de ese familiar, ¿no? En este caso el papá o de la mamá, ¿no? Entonces, por eso es muy importante no pensar solamente en un tema de inmigración, ¿no? Sino el simple hecho de separar a los niños de sus padres, ¿no? Entonces, muchas gracias, Julie, por el trabajo que tú y tu equipo hacen. Thank you very much for the work you guys do. And we'll definitely be directing people that come to us for advice for you guys, so you can,
yes. Thank you so much. Yes, definitely share those. The website contact at americanfamiliesunited.org if you want to reach out and say something. One thing I wanted to add too is Jenny in the chat. She shared her story. She's been on This American Life and has other public media. I have as well. For people who are not comfortable sharing their own stories, share ours. You can use our stories to get the message out there so that people who are in vulnerable situations or in vulnerable areas can stay safe. But thank you so much for letting us share this. This is very important for more people to understand.
Thank you very much, Jolie.
Thanks, Gloria.
Talk to you soon. We have a lot to talk. So thank you very much. Muchas gracias a todas las personas que se conectaron. Vemos que en este momento se está conectando más gente. Hemos terminado, pero la entrevista, el video se va a quedar aquí y cuando lo quiten de Facebook también está en la página de YouTube de Rebeldía, así que pueden visitar y pueden hacer preguntas, pueden mandar un mensaje a través de inbox y vamos a ir respondiendo. Muchas gracias, buenas noches. Mi nombre es Tadí. Carlos, gracias.
De nada, muchas gracias. Nos vemos.
Gracias.
Chao.
Gracias. Bye.
Bye.